You picked a real winner. 2022's best community college radio station, thanks to the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System.
Yes! Yeah! Victory!
The voice of Nassau Community College.
This is the award-winning 90.3 WHPC HD Garden City.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Play WHPC.
And available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeart, and on the WHPC app.
90.3 WHPC.
Here in my car. His only hit in the States, brother. But
Yes.
at the same time, he's big in Europe. And
They love him. They love him in Europe.
They use this song once a year in some major commercial, and they chart commercials and stuff, so he keeps returning to the charts.
Well, it's Gary Newman, by the way,
Yeah.
for anybody who might not
Who
know.
would know?
A lot of people, brother.
This was a big hit in 1980.
Yeah.
Before MTV, they were music video shows like on Channel 9 and stuff like that, and they would play like Cars, they'd play Refugee, they'd play, some Queen. They played rock songs.
Yes.
So.
And the reason, let's point out, the reason that you played that song, brother, is because I actually went and saw Gary Newman last night as we're getting an opening of New York City and concerts everywhere, brother. Oh, my God, there's so many concerts.
Well, that's part of the deal.
Everybody's playing New York.
That's where the money is, brother, and where the coolness is.
So saw Gary Newman last night.
I know, I heard.
Can't I wouldn't say before the show I wasn't much of a Newman fan, but I figured let me go spend some time with some friends that I haven't seen nearly enough in 2 years,
Right.
and kind of open my ears a little bit and check out some Newman. So a good show.
Okay.
Guy puts on a good performance.
I'm sure he does. Like I say, he doesn't need to work because that song is in commercials all over the place.
Well,
it's sort of like I Don't Want to Work, Bang on This Drum All Day.
Yeah.
Todd Rundgren. That was
By
used
Rundgren.
by a lot of people. And then also, who was it? Sly Stone.
it's the anthem of slackers everywhere.
Sly Stone, God knows how much money he made.
Sly Stone wrote that song?
No, but he had other songs, Dance to the Music and
Okay.
everything else that were used in commercials for years.
Yeah.
So, anyway, welcome to From the Press Box. My name is Rob Leonard. Here, joining me as he does every week, is my brother, and yes, award-winning sports writer,
Thank you, brother.
Tim Leonard. As we talk sports every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 90.3 WHPC. We are part of the Sports Talk family. We're on 9 to 10 every Monday, but Sports Talk's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then there's an additional version Tuesdays, 10 p.m. to midnight. Now, our first story is a big one. It actually happened on Thursday, but baseball has returned. They did not lose any games, which is probably a good thing, especially after 2 seasons where not everything was perfect. And you want to have a 162-game season. So it's going to start a week later than it was supposed to, and those games will be mixed in somewhere along the
They'll be
line.
doubleheader. I'm sure there'll be day-night doubleheaders.
Yeah.
The owners aren't going to give anything away for free. We know that.
Well, you know what? Does it really matter? I mean,
Yeah, it does.
I don't know.
They're the ones that screwed up everything. So
No, I mean, would it hurt them to have one doubleheader?
no, it wouldn't. But they want to maximize revenue. That's the whole thing. They need to bleed the public for every last dollar they can.
But
So
if
that's what's gonna
what they
happen.
did, let's say that it was like a game and a half of, let's say take it was $20. I'm making that up, but
Yes.
and then the second game was $10. If you bought both, you get to keep the same seed or whatever, something like that.
It'll be
That way they make some money,
right. It'll be the typical 2:00 afternoon for the day game. Clear out the stadium, and then the 7:00, 7:30, whatever for the night game. 2 separate admissions.
I wonder how much they check the bathrooms on those days.
They do. They check them extensively. Believe me.
I know
if,
that.
if anybody, and they have found people. I've heard
sure.
stories
I've
that
heard
people
too.
have hidden, like feet up on the seat in the stall.
Right.
And then it's like you're going to have to leave.
Well, if I was trying to sneak in, I would go to where the vendors were hanging out, and I'd try to get in that way. Anyway, the contract with the Players Association and Major League Baseball is good till 2027, where of course they'll be doing the same stupid things they did this past,
Every
3
5
months.
years.
And one thing they did, which the poor teams get to control the rich teams again. The luxury tax for 2021 is $210 million. Well, was for 2021. Now will be now $230 million.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a kick up. I mean,
that's not
it's. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Basically, they raised it by almost 10%, which is pretty significant. I know the players obviously wanted it to be even higher because that means higher salaries,
Right.
especially among the top 10 or so teams. And Mets owner Steve Cohen has said that he's more than likely. I mean, there's actually now, as part of this agreement, something that is being called the Cohen tax.
Right.
Unofficially, because owners wanted to make sure that new Mets owner Steve Cohen doesn't just start spending absurd amounts of money. Now, Cohen said, I forget who it was who did the interview, but Cohen basically said yesterday or 2 days ago, they asked him where he thought it was going to be and would he be pushing the luxury tax, and he said, yeah, we're probably going to go over it.
Well, he's got to. He comes in. He's Uncle Stevie still. Everyone likes him. No one's
Everybody likes him because he doesn't care how much money he spends.
And that
at some point he will, but right now he doesn't.
Yeah, and once they win the World Series, and then everyone loves him forever.
Well, if that's what happens, I mean, right now the Mets are still a flawed team.
They are, but they're much
they're
better
significantly better than they were.
Right.
But that being said, pitching wise, Syndergaard gone.
Okay. But they have Max Scherzer.
Who else left? Another Met left. But they have right now. They have Scherzer. They have DeGrom. They just acquired Chris Bassett from the Oakland Athletics for two pretty good prospects. In what I believe is the first trade that new GM Billy Epler has made.
Right.
And let's face it, the Mets have a few good prospects, but Brody Van Wagenen stripped a lot of the minor leagues.
Yeah, that was one of the problems.
To go out and give away two guys, I mean, if Bassett is a difficult case because last year he was having an all-star season in the first half. Then he got hit in the head with a line drive.
Right.
Missed almost the entire rest of the season. He doesn't have enough of a track record to say, all right, yes, we're getting an all-star. He had half a good season. So the Mets gave up two pretty good minor leaguers.
Right.
JT Ginn being the most promising one, and this other guy, Aller, who has had good minor league seasons, but the Mets seemed like they didn't really have a spot for him. So, all right, good trade to get put him in the deal. But if he's the third starter, Carlos Carrasco is your fourth starter, and then I don't know where the Mets go from there.
Well, I think
Taijuan Walker was real good again, real good in the first half last year, and then a disaster in the second half.
he was.
Carrasco was pretty much a disaster for the entire season
But the
after
Mets
he got
had
healthy.
I don't want to say really bad second half, but they were in first place.
No, they had a bad second half.
But they were in first place most of the first half.
Right.
So I mean,
But they were
you're looking for that team
4
to show up
games
this year.
over 500. They
Right.
were in first place because the National League East was inept.
It still counts.
Oh, I'm not saying it doesn't, but it wasn't like they were 20 games over 500.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the Cohen tag's good. Here's a guy who wants to spend money. I don't know why this is where the lower ranked teams should be really kicked out of the league. They're not going to do it, but this is where your Kansas City, who won the World Series a few years ago, and your Pittsburghs and your what other? I'm thinking Montana, but there's no team in Montana.
There's no team in Montana.
But there could be, based on
Pittsburgh, Kansas City are your two standard.
Cincinnati, maybe.
Cincinnati, they actually acquired people, although they traded Sonny Gray the other day. They traded him to the Twins. Yeah, actually, the Twins are the ones who are actually going for it, but they're another small market kind of team. You could look. I mean, some of the smaller market teams right now are on the upswing. Like I regard Seattle as a smaller market team, even though the owner is one of the richest people in the world.
Right.
So it's the market might be small, but the owner is powerful. The owner is Nintendo.
Right.
So Nintendo's not hurting for money.
And Seattle is actually a pretty decent sports town.
Yeah.
They
for sure.
They they support soccer. I mean, that's soccer.
Even though they couldn't keep an NBA team, but
that's which is tough. I'm surprised at that still. I keep looking at the thing for Seattle's. Well, first they're the Supersonics, then just mean Sonics.
Sonics, yes, they shortened it.
Yeah.
But here is the thing that when you look at the competitive balance tax, as it's called,
Horrible name.
First year, 20% tax on all overages. So if Cohen is over the tax by $60 million, well, boom, $12 million is your tax. All right. Second consecutive year they're over, and the Mets will be over. Then that goes up to 30%. So now you're talking $18 million. Third year consecutive or more, then it goes up to 50%. So now it's 50. Now it's $30 million, and that's just saying $60 million over.
I know that
if it goes more.
But let's say the first year they win the World Series, and then you got to pay your team for the second year, and you go over. There should be a thing where if the player stays on your team, that you don't get charged the balance tax, because it's only fair that you take care of your own players to try to keep a team more than a year.
Well, that
you're
looking for that's what the NBA does with its salary cap,
and
that's different.
That makes a lot of sense.
I don't necessarily disagree.
Larry Bird doesn't stays with the Celtics because of this rule.
Right.
But
that's like when the Yankees, when they had to sign Bernie Williams, when they signed Andy Pettitte, when they signed Jorge Posada, when they signed Derek Jeter, all homegrown guys.
Right.
And they're going to require raises because they're all stars.
Right. And they should get them. And that's you shouldn't play cheap. And this is where the owners get me on this. They're the lower level owners are forcing the big ones to I don't want to say play the same level field, because it's not. You can have a bad team with overpaid players.
Sure, absolutely.
So, I don't get the whole thing. I just don't get the whole stupid thing about that. I mean, don't have a tax. Don't call it something else. Give it. I can understand where's it go? Does it go to the owners? It goes to the other owners.
It goes to the smaller clubs.
Why should they get any money for being cheap guys?
Because that's how they try to make it fair.
Why doesn't Kansas City just bring up, if it's the end of the season, they dump their players and say, okay, here's the minor league team.
A lot of times that's what they do.
Right. But that's not really fair to baseball in general.
Well,
and also to the contracts. All of a sudden, you get a bad game, or let's say you overpaid for, the Kansas City Royals. They do the staggered ticket pricing now, which is silly. But let's say you get the Kansas City Royals.
You mean like when they charge more for better opponents?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of teams do that. The Mets do that.
Oh, I know that, but you don't know at the beginning of the season which team is going to be good or bad. You're just basing it on the previous season. If you're going to base it on the previous season, you should be able to keep your players. That way, you're not getting screwed if you're a fan. Oh, I got Philadelphia, but they were horrible this year.
Well,
but I overpaid for them because it's Philadelphia, and they know people from Philly going to come up.
Right. Well, I mean, that's here's the thing. I mean, first of all, I do want to say this. As happy as I am that we finally have an agreement, when I heard that this lockout was over, I wasn't celebrating and throwing confetti, and I wasn't all like, "Oh yeah, great, baseball's back." I'm just going to forget everything that just happened in the previous 99 days. No, I'm not in a celebratory mood with baseball, because I'm so tired of every 5 years having to go through this same nonsense. And I was going to pick a stronger word, but I can't say it on the radio. But it's you do this, what is it? They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Baseball is insane, because every 5 years they do exactly the same thing. The owners and the players are swinging bats at each other, and they're both talking down to each other, and the owners are taking the attitude that we have to break the union, and the players are, they're never going to break it.
They're never going to break
It
the
always
union.
just gets so acrimonious, and there's posturing on both sides.
Sports unions will never get broken.
Of course, but what they wind up, the players didn't get such a great deal that it was worth all of the negative feelings and all of the fans right now. I know so many fans who are just so fed up with baseball.
But brother, the problem also is, well, not the problem. The good part about it, I should say, is that this happened. They're still going to have 162 games. Yes, they're going to miss opening day, and it's going to go on. They're going to miss a week, but they're going to make it up during the season. So if that's the case, people aren't going to be as angry than if this went on till mid-April, and then you have to have spring training, and then it's May.
But why don't they understand that fans don't like it, and fans don't want to have to deal with billionaire owners fighting with millionaire players?
But that's not how. That's how when you step away, you look at it. When we follow sports, Tim, you follow sports because you like sports. You're involved.
I don't like this part of it.
No, but this is part of it also. So at the same time, you have to realize that as long as it doesn't affect the season too much, people will forgive. It's
people are willing to forgive. I'm certainly not dismissing that, but I think that each time this happens, I think fewer people are willing to forgive.
What they should have put in the contract, they should have said the next negotiations will happen starting a year before the end.
That's what they should do.
And they should put dates in the contract that they have to meet. Not that they meet in February, that they meet in November after the World Series. And then from there, we meet November 12th. And we meet in Florida or New York City, wherever they meet.
It doesn't matter where, just meet.
And that's where we started. And it's in the contract, so we don't have to say, well, we're going to do a lockout.
But that's the point.
Right.
It was absurd. It was a week or two after the World Series. All right, boom, the players are locked out.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
And they did such petty stuff. Like they took the players' photos off of the MLB.com website.
Right.
That's how petty this was.
Right.
Immediately petty.
Like they were going to get rid of every player on every team.
But this is what I'm talking about. It's just such juvenile garbage. And I mean, football and basketball. And we've talked about this before, so I'm not going to belabor it. But they have it's almost like a co-op or cooperative between the players and the owners, and they have it figured out. And we don't hear about their labor strife, and we don't have headlines in the papers every day for more than 3 months about how the owners think the players are unfair and the players think the owners are unfair. It's all negative. And I know that some people will say that there's no such thing as bad publicity. This is bad publicity.
That's not true, but I understand. But also when you got, NFL has some ego guys as owners too.
Of course.
Jerry Jones leading the top of it. And he's not going to destroy his money.
But that's what the baseball owners don't seem to care.
But that's also part of it is because you have these poorer owners who drag the league down. I personally
can't
think
even talk about poor owners when if the Pittsburgh Pirates were sold tomorrow,
they'd be worth $1.5 billion.
I was going to say $1.5 billion exactly. Yeah. That's not poor.
No.
If you don't have the money to run your franchise effectively, sell it to somebody who does.
Right.
There's plenty of rich guys out there.
We're waiting for the Oakland Athletics to move, whether it's owned by the ownership currently have or someone else buys them and moves them. But we're looking for them to go. Mm-hmm. They all want new stadiums, not built by them, but by the town.
Of course, like the Buffalo Bills are getting $1 billion from New York State to build a stadium up there. But and those people are wealthy.
Right.
They don't need state's money, but hey, we'll take it. Thanks.
People who own the Bills, they're super rich. They own other teams too. But you think about it, brother, and I know you would know this too, but when the arena football guys tried to start their union, one of the things that destroyed the AFL, and they were around for 20 years, was the owners were too scared to have a union as partners. And they basically said, we're going to walk away and then come back, and then they really didn't come back.
Part of the problem, though, with the Arena League, and again, I won't belabor this either, the owners were their own worst enemies.
Of course.
Because they were already paying the players more than they should have for the Arena League. And I mean, that league was like 4 months or 5 months at the most. There were a handful of guys, not a lot of guys, but a handful of guys were making six figures.
$100,000 isn't bad.
For the Arena Football League,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean, that league started, and the guys were supposed to make like $500 a game.
Yeah, but you can't continue that and go for 20 years.
Right, I understand that. But $100,000 to play Arena Football.
Yeah, but you know what?
Silly.
First of all, there's not as many players as, you know, they're more like, what,
Yeah, it was like a 20-man roster.
Yeah, so you got that. And also, the main thing about it, though, they were at the crossover point where they were about to become, I guess, soccer, they could have been the fifth league in the standings of the leagues.
What you're going to say, the fifth Beatle?
No, well, it's the same type of thing. You know, it's a little kind of respect, but at the same time, the AFL.
There was popularity, and I know that was one of the reasons they wanted to get the team out of Albany was because they didn't regard Albany as anything close to a major league.
Right.
Even though Albany had one of the most successful franchises in the Arena Football League.
Right. And same with Iowa, the Barnstormers.
Same thing. They didn't want that look.
Right. But at the same time, they were there, and they screwed up. The owners screwed up because they just did, and then the league disappeared, and now there's like 7 arena leagues, and they're all fighting for the same small piece of pie. And then MLS, Major League Soccer, comes along, and they're like the 5th league right now. And
they are not right now. That's going to continue.
Right, and
because they're still growing. The Commissioner Garber was on like a week or so ago. I saw they're still talking about another expansion or two.
Well,
they're going to go 30 teams.
Yeah, 30 is the team of 32. It keeps the divisions even. You have a lot of teams, so contracts with the television networks look better.
Right.
Problem is, of course, then you just have too many players playing in the same thing.
And yeah, you're going to have to start spending money to make the league competitive on a worldwide kind of.
I don't know if you have to have the worldwide level.
I'm not saying that they have to compete with the Premier League in England or
actually,
La
I don't think they
Liga
should.
or any of those. But I'm saying that you need to be talented enough that when the teams from MLS go into international competitions, that they don't embarrass themselves.
I would not allow them to do this now.
It's all part of soccer, bro.
I know
that's how it works.
But that's not what I.
If you don't allow them to do it, then you're admitting that your product is inferior.
Well, Rob Leonard would not allow it. I'd just focus on the United States, and I wouldn't have a 17-month.
Don't apply for the commissioner's job.
Well, we got to have him on one day, so I can yell at him. You know, one thing I thought of the other day. I watch MLS occasionally, but one thing that bothers me about, and you know this, is that a lot of teams call themselves FC.
Yes.
Whatever.
Minnesota FC, brother.
Right. NYCFC.
Yes. Your
but
favorite team.
If they were really caring that call themselves football. Football club, New York City.
Yes.
Why is it not Major League Football? If everyone's going to be...
Well, because not everybody has FC. Some
of
them are SC.
I know that. Soccer club.
It's whatever their preference is.
Anyway, we hope Uncle Stevie blows through this tax.
Here's the other part.
50% if you do 3 consecutive years more than whatever the numbers are.
Plus a surcharge.
It changes every year.
Plus a surcharge on top of that. Also, clubs that are $40 million or more above the threshold shall have their highest selection in the next draft moved back 10 places. So there's going to be penalty, like a legitimate penalty, if the spending just remains unchecked.
But this is the other side of the coin. If let's say you're a lower level team spending wise, and is there a limit, maximum they have to hit before they don't get?
No, and that was something that the players wanted.
Yeah, of
was
course.
a floor.
There has to be a floor.
And that wasn't part of the agreement, and that was something that the players were trying to bargain for. I mean, the players did. They got the competitive balance tax raised, and that was something that they wanted. They got minimum salaries raised, and that was something that they wanted. But other than that, the players didn't get a whole lot.
No,
and that's what aggravates me is that we went 99 days with this, and it's like,
one thing that happened,
you got a
brother,
few things, but that was it.
One thing was agreed on a while ago There's going to be a DH in the National League.
Yes.
I'm not happy
Good.
about that.
Why?
No.
I love that.
I want the batter to hit.
As a Met fan, you should be thrilled by that.
Why?
Because the Mets have like 5 guys who could be DHs.
Yeah, I know that, but still.
Pete Alonso can't field.
I
Dom
don't mind,
Smith can't field.
I don't mind the DH if the DH was part of the lineup and make it a 10-person lineup instead of 9.
Why do you want pitchers to hit?
Because it changes the outcome, or could change the outcome of a game.
If a pitcher's hitting is boring.
If a pitcher comes up and it's the 5th inning, and you still want him to be, he's pitching okay, but you need to do it, because you're behind.
Right.
It's 2-1, let's say.
Right.
If you don't have to pinch hit for him, he's going to pitch another inning.
Good. You like that. You like pitchers staying in the game.
I do, but I also, it takes away from the strategy.
No.
Yes. Yes, it does.
It's garbage. I go back to my boy Chin-Ming Wang,
right?
Who got hurt, suffered basically a career-ending injury,
right,
from running the bases. He hurt his foot. It was called a Lisfranc injury. It's kind of some kind of broken bone, and it affected his pitching. And because from running the bases, he basically started a steep decline, and 2 years later was basically out of baseball.
Wow.
Just from running the base. I don't want my pitchers suffering career-ending injuries running the bases. If his shoulder blows out or his elbow blows out, hey, that's fine. You're a pitcher. That's what happens. But for a pitcher to end his career because he's running the bases, no.
Well, see, it would have happened if he was running to first base to catch a ball from the first baseman.
No, that's not a sprint like running the bases is.
No.
So that's I have no problem. I want Jacob deGrom if I'm a Met fan. I don't want Jacob deGrom hitting. I don't want Met fans to say, "Oh, but Jacob deGrom is such a good hitter." No, I want Jacob deGrom to be just focus on pitching. Don't worry about hitting. Don't worry about Jacob deGrom driving in his own runs because none of the Mets can hit when he pitches.
Well,
I want Jacob deGrom to only worry about pitching.
How do we not have then? If we have designated hitter, we don't get Bartolo Colon hitting that homer a few years ago.
Hey, all I know is that if Jacob deGrom, if Buck Showalter wants Jacob deGrom to hit, fine, make him your DH.
Wow.
You can do that. There's nothing that says they can't do it. But who would you rather have as a DH? Would you rather have Pete Alonso or Dom Smith or Robinson Cano or somebody? I'd rather have any of those guys.
Robinson Cano coming back.
Don't worry. Don't forget Robinson Cano is still a Met.
I try to forget.
So
anyway, brother, we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to 90.3 WHPC. From the press box, if you have a comment or question, give us a call, 516-572-7440.
I want to hear, brother. I want to hear from people who are happy. Were they thrilled when they heard that baseball was going to be back? Because I need to have that conversation.
I'm not sure if thrilled is the right word.
Come on, everybody. Let's sing along with Bruce.
Say it! Show a little... You ain't a beauty, but... That's all right.
Join me, Kim Tracy, for the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band every Sunday at 1 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC and with the iHeartRadio and TuneIn apps.
Okay. Yo.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out. Check it out.
Do you guys know that I took circus arts at NCC? I had to drop the class because I could not juggle.
What Did he act like a clown? He's like, I'm Professor Bozo. Today we're gonna juggle. Here, take these scissors.
Oh, good. No.
Stand up.
Pretend you're back in clown college.
Wait.
I'm gonna duck.
Here she is, everybody. It's Krista, the clown.
So bad. Okay, ready?
Wait, what's your clown voice? Hi, boys and girls.
I'm not doing a clown voice.
Not doing the clown voice.
I'm sweating.
Do the clown voice, please. I got nothing in my life. I got hit by a car. I got dumped. No.
Oh my God.
She's throwing markers at me. She was gonna throw the scissors at me.
I was. Stop it.
The Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
All hit music.
For all those songs radio has forgotten about. Join me, Big Ed, Mondays from 10 a.m. till noon for The Good Gold Show. We'll bring back all the great hits of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and more. The sounds of doo-wop to disco, all the Motown, soul, and great rock and roll. We'll even take your requests and dedications to The Good Gold Show.
Music.
on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and streaming on the iHeartRadio app.
Here in my car. Yeah. I can play my own things. I can play my own radio in my own car. I can pick things up at garage sales and bring them home. Yeah. Welcome back to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC. Streaming at nccradio.org, iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn.com app, and then also Odyssey.com. Also, our friend Alexa helps out too, so you might want to give Alexa a shout out and say, hey, Alexa, play WHPC. I'm Rob Leonard. He is Tim Leonard, and we're talking sports as we always do. This becomes a podcast later on Spreaker.com. It becomes a podcast everywhere, including Spotify. And just a reminder, don't forget about Old Country Road every Sunday at 8 p.m., hosted by Michael Anthony. Classic country music is showcased along with interviews with legendary artists. That's Old Country Road every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., right here on 90.3 WHPC. And one thing that happened this weekend also, a lot of things happened. The tournaments happened, the Big East tournaments and every other tournament. The ACC's at the Barclays. At the same time, the Big East is at the Garden. Mm-hmm. And to me, I don't know how many people are paying attention to the ACC tournament at the Barclays because the Big East is so dominating at the Garden.
It's entrenched.
It's entrenched, you know. It's like, you know, you think that, or maybe at one point they did. You might remember this better. Did they ever play up in Syracuse? You know,
for the Big East tournament?
Yeah.
They have.
For the finals?
For the Carrier Dome, yeah.
Okay, because that makes a lot of sense, too. That place, I don't even know if it's around still, but they also pick the Garden because that's where the base is.
Of course, that's the Big East is the offices are located in Manhattan, and obviously the Garden is the Mecca. So
yeah, so say what you want about it, it's still the Garden. Anyway, the brackets are in. Now we're not going to do as much predicting as just talking about what happened. All this happened on Sunday because it is its own show. On
its own event.
Its own event, because that's why the games go from, Wednesday to Saturday.
Right.
And then instead of ending on Sunday.
Some on Sunday.
Yeah, but mostly before they do the show. And anyway, we should say that St. Peter's won the MAC tournament. Congratulations to them.
Yes, one of the few locals to get in. Iona lost their tournament, so that's why they're not in. I mean, Iona had a great season. And Rick Pitino had really has done a nice job with them, but they lost in, I don't know if it was a quarterfinal or semifinal, but I was shocked when I saw it.
Yeah.
But St. Peter, you know who's the Shaheen Holloway, the former Seton Hall star, is now the coach at St. Peter's, which is located right in Jersey City.
And of course, Hofstra right down the block didn't do much, but we like Speedy, and he'll be back next year. At least we hope so.
Speedy had a good season. He did not have a good tournament. They lost. College of Charleston beat them. And that was a team that they spanked twice.
Right.
So, really disappointing.
And a good game with the Big East, and you were there for the games.
Yes.
I thought St. John's game, even though they lost, they should have won that game. They were winning by a big margin, and then all of a sudden they just to me, they seemed like they just got stiff.
They just fell apart really quickly. And even after they gave away the lead, I don't even remember exactly how big the lead was, but the lead was up around 14, 15 points.
Yep.
And it vanished quickly.
Yeah.
But then they got it back, and I thought that it was like, all right, we're going to weather the storm. And a lot of times what happens is teams come back and they expend all of their energy and all of their reserves, and it's, okay, now we got them back. We're even now.
Right.
But then they don't have anything left to go ahead by 5 or 6 points.
Yep.
And St. John's retook the lead, and I figured, all right, they're going to get it, and they're going to win the game, and then they didn't.
Yep.
So unlucky for them.
Yeah.
There's also
I thought they were going to do better, but
there's also word that St. John's coach Mike Anderson might be leaving St. John's for Tulsa, which I don't understand why he would do that, but if Tulsa's offering a big contract, then
I'm sure money is part of it, but also nothing against the Johnnies. When was the last time anyone covered the Johnnies with any intensity? Louis years, you know.
I don't know. When you're a coach in the Big East, first of all, to me, you try to make if you make St. John's, if you turn St. John's back into a national power, you get a hell of a lot better job than Tulsa.
Yeah. So, and of course, Georgetown had a horrible year.
Did not win a game in the Big East.
Patrick Ewing, you know, I don't want to call him the prodigal son when he returned to Georgetown, but has he proved he can be a coach? I don't know.
Well, they won the Big East tournament last year.
Yeah,
that was the. I mean,
how do you win last year and then
they had
next
a lot
year
of
you're just
defections
horrible.
and guys left and Mac McClung went pro and it was he. I mean, the one thing that I would like to know is about the culture at Georgetown. Because so many guys left, and it sounds like a lot of guys were unhappy. I want to know why they were unhappy.
Right.
Now Patrick Ewing, despite not winning a Big East game this season, he was given a vote of confidence a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And the AD's like he'll be back, and the president, we stand behind Patrick Ewing. Okay, that's great. And Patrick Ewing, let's face it, Georgetown is not a school that is in the habit of hiring and firing coaches. I mean,
right.
they gave John Thompson III. They gave him at least 3 years that he didn't deserve there,
right?
Because they didn't want to fire him. So with Patrick Ewing, they're going to give him at least that much. I mean, they're going to give him at least what they gave John Thompson III,
right?
Because he's Patrick Ewing.
He's still he walks into the room. He's still Patrick Ewing, especially in Georgetown. Even though it's 35 years ago or 37 years ago, he's still the man on campus.
He's still the greatest player to ever play at Georgetown.
Yes,
and Allen Iverson is included in that conversation. So is Dikembe Mutombo.
Yep.
So is Alonzo Mourning.
Yep.
The greatest player in Georgetown history is Patrick Ewing.
Yep.
So you don't just say, "Well, we had a bad season." Because, like I said, were they expected to win the Big East tournament last year? No, they didn't, but they did.
Right.
So good for Patrick Ewing, but at some point that isn't going to that's not going to guarantee your job.
No, but he walks in, they give him a couple of extra years because he's Patrick Ewing.
Of course.
Now St. John's didn't do that to Chris Mullen.
No,
because
just the opposite. They ran him out of town.
They basically chased him. They basically said, "Well, you're supposed to be the guy who comes back and brings everything home." Well, he needs time to develop.
you need more than 4 years to do that at college level, especially with St. John's, because I mean, let's face it, not a lot of New York kids are staying home to play for St. John's.
Why would you?
Well, it used to be that some of them would because they could pocket the money, and it was legal.
Right.
Because they would get a housing stipend and whatnot, and if they wanted to take a housing stipend because it was legal to take it and live at home.
Right.
Hey, that's fine. That's like putting I don't even know how many thousands of dollars.
$10,000 a month.
It
could be.
Putting it right in your pocket.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And the NCAA knew it, and it was like, fine, no problem. We got nobody's getting punished for any of this.
And they shouldn't. That's the whole thing. But yeah, they didn't give poor Mr. Mullen enough time. I was very disappointed when that happened.
So that was.
So anyway, what else happened with the Big East? So when you were there, what not shocked you, but made you look at?
I mean, Providence losing to Creighton. Creighton went on a 31-2 run.
Oh God!
And Providence was the top seed, so I was expecting Providence to be in the final, and then Creighton winds up in the final against Villanova. And old friend Jay Wright, the former Hofstra coach. I didn't get the chance to ask Jay Wright this question, and I really wanted to because I happened to catch the first couple of minutes of I think it was the semifinal game with Villanova. Gus Johnson, who I'm not a fan, but I know a lot of people are.
I like him.
I know he is a very well-known broadcaster.
I'm not sure I like him. I like him more on his profession. I'm not sure the college is.
Well,
is for him, but he's been around for a while.
Jay Wright, ever since COVID, he has basically changed his manner of dress. He's not the coaching fashion plate anymore that he used to be.
Right.
Gus Johnson, in his inimitable Gus Johnson way, called that a travesty. And Gus, he's going to punctuate that word. So it's not a travesty, it's a travesty. And I wanted to ask Jay Wright and mention it to him and say, Jay, Gus said it's a travesty that you're not wearing, Armani, Hugo Boss, whatever Gus wore. I mean, or whatever Jay Wright wore. But Jay Wright, let's face it, the guy was one of the three best dressed coaches in the nation. But I also wanted to ask him if it was any kind of relief that he doesn't have to live up to that standard anymore. Because basically now Jay Wright wears a pullover on the sideline.
Why?
He's got a Villanova pullover.
Well,
I mean, it really is kind of two opposites in terms of how he dresses from 5 years ago and how he dresses for the last 2 years.
Well,
but it's like he's comfortable, he's casual.
Yeah.
But that was what Gus Johnson regarded as a travesty. The other thing
I didn't say terrible.
I asked Doug McDermott, the Creighton coach.
Right.
They were 0 for 12 from 3 in the first half of the final. They missed, I want to say it was another 2 or 3 in the second half before they finally hit their first shot. They were, if I'm going by memory because I don't have the sheet in front of me, I want to say they were 2 for 24.
Wow.
From 3-point range. And I asked him, is there ever a point? Because I said, obviously, the three-point shot it's ingrained in the game. It's not like you can just
and it's shorter in college.
Yeah,
right?
it's like 20 feet or whatever. So, but I said, is there ever a point where you're going to tell your guys, look, we got to get away from the three, and let's get to the basket. Let's get to the lane. Let's get the ball inside, and let's get some easy looks, and try to get layups. And he gave me a really well thought out answer, very 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 well thought out. And on his sleeve of his Creighton warm-up jacket, it was written in script. It says, "Let it fly." And that is their motto. They want to shoot, and they're going to shoot threes. And the basics of his answer was no. Like, we're not going to tell them to do that because that's what we do.
That's what they come to the game for.
And it's a whole live by the sword, die by the sword. And that's what it was. They died this time.
I'm at the point in my life watching basketball that I get angry watching 3-point plays.
Oh, I hope you weren't watching the Big East final. You would have gone out of your mind. I was thinking of my brother while I was watching the game.
I was so angry because it just reminds me of, like, I'm going to chuck it up. And I don't care that the guy is open under the basket, and there's no guarantee my three-pointer is going to go in because I'm so far away. But if I threw it to under the basket, that guy's a nice layup.
But Doug McDermott said that. And he said a lot of the three-pointers that we got, number one, were open looks. And number two came because the defenses were collapsing. He's got a 7-foot center.
Right.
He's kid's not very athletic, but he's still a 7-foot center. That guy was 8 for 11. And scored, I think it was 19 or 20 points.
Okay.
But everybody else on Creighton was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 for 50.
It's taken away from the game, but like I said, unless you have to get back, I would always go for the twos.
Well, but they
just don't burn the clock
so
off.
Many,
that's all.
Here was the problem though. They had a lot of the shots were open looks. They weren't forcing shots.
Right.
But the problem with playing 3 games in 3 days, like good teams have to at the Big East tournament.
Right.
If St. John's would have gotten to the final, they'd be playing 4 games in 4 days. Your legs are going to get tired, and if you're shooting jump shots, that's all your legs. So if you're shooting jumpers and your legs are tired, well, you're not going to get as much elevation as you're going to get. So your shots are going to wind up being short, and for the most part, they were. Colin Gillespie. The from Villanova, the Big East Player of the Year, was not having a good game, but he hit 2 massive 3-pointers near the end. Back-to-back possessions for Villanova, bang 3-pointer. They came back, they got to stop. Colin Gillespie back, bang 3-pointer. 6-point swing in that game was a massive swing.
Yeah,
that's what clinched the game right there. And that was the difference because Creighton at that point they actually were getting the ball inside more and were getting baskets and were back in the game. And that was with 2-3 minutes left in the game. Creighton actually had a lead at one point. And Villanova just came back. Gillespie hit those 2 times. That's why the guy was Player of the Year. Just totally clutch plays.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about the NCAA tournament. The brackets are in. The number one seeds are Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, and Baylor. Gonzaga is the number one overall seed. Now, did you notice what I did there, brother?
What did you do, bro?
You know how many years I've been calling Gonzaga, and you'd get all angry with me because you know. Out of the family, I'm the funniest guy, and you're the least funniest.
This is good, bro. It's good that you're finally listening to me.
But I'm the funniest in the family.
And imparting the wisdom that I give
Sisters
to you
next.
to the masses.
Mom
who are
sometimes
listening
is
to the
very
show.
funny, not on purpose sometimes, and then of course you're the last.
And you impart the wisdom that I pass along to you onto the masses. That's very good, brother.
So,
Gonzaga, very good.
So anyway, we should say St. Peter's won the MAC tournament, so they're in the tournament.
Yes, you said that before.
I know, but I'm going to go back on my notes. Rutgers has a play-in game against Notre Dame. All right,
It should be a fun game.
That should be. And who's the third one? Who's the third local team? Is there a third team? Local team? I forgot.
There wasn't a third local. There was Colgate, if you want to call
No,
Colgate.
no,
but
it wasn't
that's,
Colgate.
it's a New York State team.
Yeah, well, that's
There's nothing local about them. But yeah, that was it. That's it. I mean, like I said, Iona didn't make it. Hofstra didn't make it. It's Rutgers. It's Rutgers and it's St. Peter's.
Right, and of course the NIT will be doing something this week. The best
St. John's will be
73rd team of the league. I wish the NIT was the beginning of the season as a. Before the season starts.
They have a preseason now.
Yeah, but they should have. That's the only thing that matters. To me, the NIT is. I mean, it's great for the players because they get to go hang out for another week playing basketball. But to me, it's.
A lot of them don't want to do that. And with COVID for the last couple of years, a lot of them have just said, no, forget it. We don't want to do it.
Well, also, they're afraid they might hurt themselves, too. So anyway, let's see. Well, did Duke get a close game, brother? You always say that.
Well, Duke lost in the ACC tournament final to Virginia Tech, so we should give Virginia Tech a nice pat on the back. Way to go, Hokies! But as usual, and as I predicted, brother,
you did predict this.
Duke is the number 2 seed in the West region. All right, and that's a key word there, West region. Because Duke will be playing its first 2 games in, drumroll please, South Carolina.
Right.
Did they move South Carolina?
I don't know, did they?
Is there something else we can blame Biden for? Did South Carolina all of a sudden move to the Pacific Ocean and not the Atlantic Ocean?
I don't know.
Because as far as I know, South Carolina is right below North Carolina, which is where Duke is located. What a shocker. Duke is playing again within about 100 miles of campus.
Shocking.
Unbelievable. Except they're in the West region. I don't even know how that happens. So, of course, Duke gets the competitive advantage as usual. Every year it happens, and every year I've been complaining about it since we started doing the show. But that is the West region. Duke is the number 2 seed. Auburn is number 2 in Midwest, and Kentucky is in the East, and Villanova is a 2 seed in the South, which I think is really too high for Villanova. Good team, yes, but do I think they're going to win the tournament? No, I don't. I don't see any way that Villanova wins this tournament. And as a 2 seed, there should be some sort of a path to victory or some way that I can envision a future where I can say, yeah, I could see Villanova winning this thing. There's not a chance that Villanova's winning this.
Right.
Good team, yes. Could they make the Sweet 16? Sure, they could. But is that about as far as they're going to go? Yeah. I don't see it. I don't see them going really much further than that. The rest of it, I don't. I look at it, and in the South, Arizona clearly the best team in the region. I look at Tennessee, Illinois, and Houston, all very good teams. So there's going to be some competition there, but Arizona is ahead of the field there. In the East, Baylor obviously is a reigning champion. They've had some couple of issues this year. Purdue is a very solid team, and UCLA, it was supposed to be better than they've been. So does that happen in the tournament, or do they just bow out and just say, all right, forget about this season? The Midwest, Kansas is always a tournament threat. Auburn, I love Bruce Pearl, the coach at Auburn. He has done such a phenomenal job with Auburn this season. I could see them going to the Final Four. That's how good I think Auburn is, and that's how much I like Bruce Pearl. Wisconsin out of the Big Ten, any team from the Big Ten should do well in this tournament because they've just been battling all season with each other. And Can Providence bounce back? I don't know, because obviously the 31-2 run from Creighton, if you're a coach from any team that's going to play Providence, you're looking at that tape and you're going to see, what did Creighton do and how did they slow them down?
Okay.
So Providence has a little work to do. In the West, Gonzaga should be the team easy. But that being said, I could see Michigan State beating Duke in the second round because Tom Izzo figures it out in tournament time even more than Krzyzewski does.
Well, there's something here on the Atlantic. Someone posted, who's going to be the team that breaks Coach K's his last loss?
Good.
And they have Michigan State or Davidson as and they go Fullerton no, Michigan State or Davidson maybe. And then
who wrote that? Who's the intelligent guy that wrote that?
Brendan Quinn.
There you go, Brendan Quinn.
So
I like him.
So he, an interesting way because Duke's not going to win the thing. We know that. Who's going to be the guy who takes them down for the last time?
I mean, that's another team. Another two. I mean, they're a 2 seed, and they probably deserve a 2 seed. But they're another team. And it's not because of my innate Duke hatred. I don't see them winning this. They've played big, good teams, and they haven't done well. So, I don't see them. So anyway, the tournament starts up in a couple days. We got the playing games happening, and then starting next weekend it's going to be, as Gorilla Monsoon would say, pandemonium.
Pandemonium in the ring, as he used to say.
Yes.
Or he'd say an Irish street fight, or he'd say a number 6 brawl or something.
Pier 6.
Pier 6 brawl. He was great with the names. So do you have a choice, brother?
I mean, if you're forcing me to pick one, I'm probably gonna go Gonzaga, but I'd really like a chance to look at it a little bit more.
Okay.
And it's tough to come on the air a few hours after they do the selection show and do a full analysis on this because it's like you barely get a chance to look at it. It's 64 teams. I'm trying to look at play-in games.
68.
68 teams. I'm trying to look at play-in games and see who's doing what, and then try to get 3 hours of sleep, and then we're on the air.
So it's a good point.
It's a little difficult. But yeah, I mean, I'll take Gonzaga to right what the wrong from last season. They lost to Baylor in the final, and very few people expected Baylor to win that game. So maybe this is the year that Mark Few gets to cut down the net.
Okay, I don't really have a choice. I'd like to see Kansas win it, but I'm not sure of that. It's a gut feeling.
It's a gut, brother.
It's a gut feeling.
All right, go with it. Why not? Kansas is a good team.
Anyway, brother, a couple more things before we run out of time. We have a lot of notes we didn't get to because a lot of things will happen this weekend. Tom Brady has announced that after 2 months, or less than 2 months, he decided he will unretire. And I don't know if he gets the same contract that he was supposed to get. Does he get the bonus that he was supposed to get?
I'm not even 100% sure.
They have not said.
My only question is it possible to spend too much time with Gisele Bundchen?
No, I mean that's
less than 2 months. Oh yeah, I'm going back to play football.
Yeah, but he did.
Tom, you got a pretty hot wife.
But he did say that he originally said, this was a couple of years ago, that he wanted to play until 45, and by the time the season ends, I think he will be 45. So we're very close. Now, of course, what does this mean for America's favorite idiot, Gronk? Will he be back to be the guy who catches Tom's passes?
I'm sure that Brady has told him he wants him back.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers are a team in transition. That's why that's the only reason I'm surprised by this, because I don't think the Buccaneers next season will be even as good as they were this year.
Right.
Because they won the Super Bowl. They got everybody together to win the Super Bowl. They tried to get everybody together to get that whole team back last season, and they weren't as good.
No.
And now there's going to be more guys leaving that team, so they're going to be younger because they're going to have to build with more draft picks, and they don't have a lot of money to spend on free agents. So to me, next season they're like a 10-win team, maybe 11, maybe 10-7, 11-6. But that's not going to win a Super Bowl.
No, but it'll get them to the playoffs, and I think if you're the Buccaneers, you'll take that because you don't want to rebuild next year. It gives them another year to fill in.
Well, the other part of it is that it gives you Tom Brady at quarterback for this season. This draft is not a good quarterback draft.
Right.
So even if the Buccaneers took one of the quarterbacks who were available, number one, he's not going to be a starter this year. Number two, there's not even any kind of guarantee that he's going to be your starter in 3 years.
Right.
So the fact that Brady is back kind of buys them a little time in terms of replacing him.
It's a good move for Brady. He wants, maybe he doesn't need the money, but there's nothing wrong with it.
He doesn't need
he brings back his special friend Gronk, and then he also is going to be loved in the Buccaneerville. They're going to love him because, most likely they're going to make the playoffs. So there's a lot of good things there, for and plus the NFL, he's still someone people watch. And the NFL loves
he should buy Derek Jeter's house instead of just renting it.
Well, that might be maybe he needs the money to buy it, and maybe that's the case. Also, brother, we should say very quickly, the Yankees made a trade on Sunday. Now that the leagues are back together and they're all playing together.
And the Mets made a trade, too.
Yeah, quickly, Gary Sanchez and Gio
Urshela go to the Minnesota Twins for third baseman Josh Donaldson, shortstop Isaiah Kiner Falefa, and catcher Ben Rortvedt.
Right.
Now, the reason for this trade is to have Kiner Falefa play shortstop. He is now the stopgap. So the Yankees are not going to be in on Carlos Correa. I know a lot of Yankee fans are going to be depressed by that, but this is what it is. And the Yankees are now basically announcing, hey, we're waiting for Anthony Volpe to be ready.
Right.
Because we think he's going to be the next Derek Jeter. Because that's what they think. He's that good of a prospect right now that they are going to when he's ready, he's going to move right into the starting spot. Whenever that is. I don't think it's going to be this season, but I think there's a very good likelihood that it could be next season. So get Kiner Falefa now. They took on Josh Donaldson's $50 million that's left on his contract. He's kind of an injury-prone guy, but a decent third baseman, but another right-handed bat, which the Yankees really could use another left-handed bat. But a pretty good trade. You unload Gary Sanchez, who's been he's been a disappointment for the last 4 years. A lot of potential, but no results.
You gave him a nickname of El Gary.
I love El Gary, but it gets to the point where you have to produce. That's what the major leagues is about. If you don't produce, you don't have a job.
Well, yeah.
So now El Gary doesn't have a job.
That's any job.
They sell high on Gio Urshela, who that was one of Brian Cashman's master strokes. He got him for nothing from Toronto, and Gio Urshela put up numbers with the Yankees. And good for him, good for him that he's going to Minnesota. Minnesota's actually they got Sonny Gray the other day, so
right.
they're making some moves. But we'll never have a bad thing to say about Gio Urshela.
No,
great guy, had great years with the Yankees, great defender. Good for him. The Mets, like we said quickly before, picked up Chris Bassett from the Oakland Athletics for J.T. Ginn and that. Aller, what was Aller's name? Adam Aller, yes. Bassett, he's the number 3, as far as I'm concerned. And, the Mets have some depth. Taijuan Walker and Carlos Carrasco, to me, are question marks. David Peterson is another guy who's a starter. So now the Mets have some starting depth, which is what they needed, because they got a couple of question marks on the staff. And if Carrasco doesn't pitch well like he didn't pitch well last year, then they can say, fine, figure it out, and we're done.
Good idea. No, we're done, brother.
Are we done?
We're done. We'll talk more about this another time.
Yes.
Coming up next at 10 o'clock, they call him Big Ed for many reasons. One of them is he plays the big songs on Good Gold. Coming up next right here on 90.3 WHPC. My name is Rob Leonard. The show you've been listening to is From the Press Box. Of course, joining me is my brother Tim. And this show will become a podcast later on. And, of course, we're here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., talking sports. Don't forget the rest of Sports Talk, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., and then Tuesdays, 10 p.m. to midnight. Take care, and thank you, and bye-bye. And we're back with additional material for the podcast only. There's so many things that we didn't get to on today's show that we figured let's put it on the podcast and you can hear it there. I'm Rob Leonard. This is From the Press Box. That is Tim Leonard. As we continue our show, because there were so many things to talk about. First of all, brother, we found you were at the Big East in the press room area, and you got to ask some questions. Here's one of them. Now, set it up.
This was like I had mentioned during the show. Creighton was abysmal from 3-point range in the Big East tournament final.
It was something like 2 for 24. I mean, it was terrible. They missed their first 14 3-pointers before they finally made their first one. And I asked Creighton coach Doug McDermott if there was ever a time where he would tell his players, look, the 3-pointer's not working, and let's get the ball down low and let's work inside for baskets. And he basically, like I said before, he gave me a very well thought out and a very well reasoned answer, but the basics of the answer was no, because the 3-pointers is what we do, and that's how this team is built, and that's what we do.
Coach, I'm just wondering, obviously the 3-pointer is part of the game. Is there ever a point in any game where you would tell your guys to get away from the 3 and really just try to focus everything on going inside?
I mean, a lot of the threes were a result of going inside first, and then the defense collapsed, and that was kind of their, to Ryan's point, that was kind of their approach to the game tonight. But it's how we build our program, and I think you could argue Villanova's built their program much the same way. We want guys with skill, guys that can handle it, pass it, shoot it, and understand how to play the game, and we both have those. Most of theirs are seniors, and a lot of mine are freshmen, so it's different in that regard. But as a coach, you don't ever take away a kid's confidence. As soon as they don't think you believe in them, then why would they believe in themselves? So, O'Connell turned one down right before halftime, and I grabbed him on the way to the locker room, and I said, "You need to shoot that 100 out of 100 times." This says "let it fly" on my sleeve for a reason. And obviously he anchors it in there, and we're going to get him touches, and the defense is going to react to where he's at in his posting, and that's going to create opportunities for other guys. And Kaluma's shot it really good last night. Hawkins has shot it great all year. Trey Alexander's been playing great recently. O'Connell's been a 35 to 40% 3-point shooter his whole career, and we just had a night where nobody could make one, and still had a chance to win the game. So no, I would never tell my guys not to shoot.
And that's the coach, as asked to by Tim.
Yes.
Oops.
Doug McDermott is his name. His son played for him at Creighton, and it might still be in the NBA. He played for the Knicks for a few weeks. But he was a first round pick, and he actually carved out a decent career for himself. A good shooter. I coincidentally enough, definitely a long range threat.
Okay, now let's talk about a couple of things we did not get to as part of the regular show. Let's talk about the Nets. They beat the hell out of the Knicks. Well, I shouldn't say beat the hell, but they beat the Knicks 110 to 107 on Sunday. Kevin Durant had 53 points, just to make sure everyone still remembers him. He also called out the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, about the vaccine mandate. And I'll let you take over here, brother, because you actually had COVID, or a variation of it, I should say.
I had OG COVID.
Yes. So I'll let you take over for what Kevin Durant said and what it means, and he might be right at this point.
Here's what I don't get, because the whole thing with and first of all, let me say this: I am very much pro-vaccination. I have been critical of Kyrie Irving for not getting vaccinated, and have been very disappointed in Kyrie Irving for not getting vaccinated, because to me he really doesn't have a good reason for not being vaccinated.
Right.
But that all being said, with where we are with COVID right now, Kyrie Irving is sitting in the front row of the Barclays Center last night. He doesn't have a mask on, but he can't play.
Right.
So why is he allowed in the building as an unvaccinated person, but he can't play in the game? That makes no sense to me at all. And obviously it's a result of whatever mandates are still in place. And I was pro-mandate. I'm if people don't want to get vaccinated and don't want to do their part to try to beat a pandemic, then my opinion is you get what you deserve, because this was a something that all of society, we needed everybody pulling on the rope, as the coaches like to say, pulling in the same direction. But with where we are right now and how low the numbers are, and mask mandates have now, for now at least, gone away, I don't understand why or how Kyrie Irving can be in the building, unmasked, sitting in the front row, but he can't be in uniform playing for the Nets.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
I agree with you on this one, and I've been vaccinated. You've been vaccinated. Mom and sis have been vaccinated too. Most of our friends have been vaccinated also. And at the same time, if you're going to stop people from doing things because they're not vaccinated, Kyrie Irving should not be in the first row.
He shouldn't be in the building. If he can't play, then he shouldn't be in the building.
So they have to figure out now. And one thing that gets me about the whole thing with the COVID, it's gone down to a certain point. You're never going to get down to zero, no matter what, or no matter what.
That's your speculation, brother. I
mean,
it's possible to get it to zero. We don't have polio anymore, for example.
Right, but that's different. Polio, everyone got it.
Well, but the reason we don't have it is because people are vaccinated.
Right, but and some people now are getting vaccinated for polio for whatever sick reason, and then polio is actually sort of making a small comeback. So, Kevin Durant also said this. He goes, the mayor wants attention.
He does.
And then told him, meaning the mayor, to figure out the vaccine policy. So that is something to think about. And, it could be that the vaccination policy changes by the playoffs, which I hope that for the Nets' sake it happens and we get to see Kyrie Irving play at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn in New York. So
but there's another aspect to the vaccination story is that Canada will not allow unvaccinated baseball players into the country. And that being said, apparently there are still a couple of Yankees who are not vaccinated. Now, there's only speculation in terms of who that might be, but we'll find out when those players are not allowed to enter into Canada for when the Yankees play the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right.
Because Canada doesn't play. They're not going to say, "Oh, well, you're Aaron Judge. You can go in. We don't have to worry about you." It doesn't matter. If you don't show them a COVID vaccination card, you ain't getting into Canada.
Right.
So they can hide who it is now, but we're going to find out at some point who is and who is not vaccinated because Canada is not going to change that rule anytime soon.
No, and you know what? If that's Canada's a different country, a lot less people. We shouldn't say we don't know about Aaron Judge's vaccination.
We don't. I'm using him as an example because he is the biggest name on the Yankees, and there has been some speculation that he might not be vaccinated. I don't know that it's been confirmed that he is, but again, we'll find out who it is. I don't know who it is, but apparently I read that there was somebody in the middle of the Yankees lineup who was not vaccinated. So speculate on that as you will. Maybe it was Gary Sanchez. I don't know.
Okay. We should say that the Nets are the number 8 team right now in the Eastern Conference for the playoffs, the way the playoffs work. They're the number 8 team if the playoffs were to start tomorrow.
Which means they are in that play-in game.
Yeah, it's a play-in game, and they will play. I guess
they would play the 9 seed, whoever the 9 seed winds up being. So it's all still. I mean, there's still a lot of basketball to be played, but obviously the Nets would be a much better team if Kyrie Irving was able to play home and away as opposed to just away. I mean, COVID, the whole situation it's always been fluid. It's always changed. What is a rule one week isn't a rule anymore the next week. It's always been reacting to science, and I think that's a good thing. But
the problem is when you ask every day, the answers change, but you shouldn't ask every day because you don't
have to
know.
ask every day. It's a matter of
I don't know. But the problem is it's killed off the real message, and that is to get the vaccination. Because what's happened is if you get changes every day, well, today is okay, tomorrow it's not, or yesterday was okay and today isn't. People stop paying attention to it.
But that's science.
Yeah, I know, brother.
Science is
I know it's science, but the problem is we're in the middle of it. So what's happened is that people just don't pay attention anymore. And that's the problem.
Those are stupid people.
They are, brother. But you know
attention.
what? The stupid people live with the smart people. You know, not everyone is.
That's sad.
Well, it's true. You can't.
I know it's true. That's the sad part, though. That's all we can do is, Kyrie. In an ideal world, Kyrie would have gotten vaccinated, and we'd be done with it.
Right.
And we wouldn't have to keep having this conversation.
I also think he shouldn't have been paid. They should have said, "No, we're not paying you."
Well, he got prorated money.
Yeah, still.
But his contract is for like $30-something million.
Yeah.
He's still making $17 million this year.
Right.
So it's not like he got penalized.
No, but still. Anyway,
I'll take
let's
$17 million any day.
let's talk about the Islanders. Trade deadline is 1 week away. I'm not sure it matters at this point, unless maybe to help other teams.
Yeah, no, it is to help other teams. It's for the Islanders to create salary space. And maybe pick up a draft pick or a young player with some promise. The Islanders have won 3 in a row and 4 of the last 5, so they are playing better lately. They beat the Anaheim Ducks on Sunday 4-3. Kyle Palmieri had 2 goals, which that's a nice to see with the trade deadline a week away. That Kyle Palmieri buries a couple, because for me he's a guy who should definitely be on the trading block. Veteran winger, teams are going to like to see, he can help them. He helped the Islanders last year, certainly, after he came over from the Devils. But he is a guy that if they can get any kind of a draft pick back for him, then to me, you make the deal and save the $6 million a year in salary and use that somewhere else. Preferably to maybe shore up your defense a little bit so you don't have to bring Zdeno Chara back.
Right, and of course the Islanders hammered the Columbus Blue Jackets 6-0 the other game this past week. Anders Lee had his first career hat trick, 6th shutout of the season, which isn't a bad thing.
For Sorokin.
For Sorokin, I mean,
made 25 saves in that game.
Yeah, so this team has had good moments. It's just haven't had them seemingly connected.
No consistency this season, and that's been in large part because of the season. The starting the season with 13 games on the road, and the whole COVID disaster that happened. And the Islanders were pretty much the first team in the NHL to really get hit hard by COVID. I mean, they had something like 10 or 11 cases at one point. So the NHL made them keep playing with their minor league team, basically. So they got hurt the most, I think, by COVID, or more than any other team in the league. There's only so much you can come back from, and I would have liked to have seen them play better and to really make a run at a playoff spot, but it's just not happening, and it's been obvious for a while that it's not happening. So try to make some. A couple of small upgrades, and then go into the offseason and maybe sign a key free agent or two, and come back next season. I mean, this is still a strong club. It's still it's not an old club by any means. No. But they need a couple of new pieces here and there.
And we should say the Islanders are the 10th out of the wild card team's possibility. Of course, it's the first 8. In the division, 3 in the one division, 3 in the other, and then 2 randoms.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. Bruins 77 points, the Caps 74, Columbus 63, the Islanders 56. The Islanders would really have to win every game for the rest of the season to even have a chance, and that is not going to happen. So that is too bad for the Islanders. I've yet to go to the UBS Arena. Had a chance this past weekend. I was not able to go. I do look forward to going, and I do hope
we should do that before the season ends, bro.
We should. We
From
should.
the press box at UBS Arena.
I think that's something I agree with you, brother.
Yeah,
we should
let's
do
that.
Okay, let's see where we got here. Oh, the Knicks. Knicks have been horrible this season. We're not. I shouldn't say horrible. They're just not. Last season they made the playoffs, and they were very good last season. They remind me a lot of the Islanders. There was a lot of expectations this year that did not happen. But Julius Randle hit 8 3-pointers, 46 career-high points in the third quarter, or 17 of his career-high 46 points in the third quarter. The Knicks rallied from a 20-point deficit and beat the Kings 131 to 115 last week. It was that good of a game, though.
That was in Sacramento, too.
In Sacramento. And I can see that, when they show those best of games, I can see this one being one of those they show down the road.
Yeah, anytime you come back from a 20-point deficit, that's obviously you did something right. You didn't do anything right to get to a 20-point deficit, but to erase it, not only erase it, but also win by 16. That's a massive swing. Unfortunately, that was actually the second of 3 wins in a row for the Knicks. Now, sadly for them, they've lost their last 2 in a row, including that game to the Nets last night. Knicks are 28-40, last place in the Atlantic Division. And for me, and we said this before, everything with the Knicks this season, it comes down to two decisions basically. Number one was not signing DeMar DeRozan, despite him wanting to come to the Knicks. And DeMar DeRozan is an MVP candidate this season because the Knicks thought that he was too old to have an impact on the team. Which obviously was a huge mistake by the Knicks. And the other one was, and I hate to say it, but the signing of Kemba Walker. Because it was supposed to be Walker and Derrick Rose, and they were supposed to be there for each other. And with both of them not playing as many minutes, it was supposed to lead to good health for both of them. And instead, Derrick Rose has been he's been hurt for the last 3 or so months. He had to have surgery. Kemba Walker, his knee, his troublesome knee, which they knew was a problem when they signed him, but they were hoping that he could get through the season healthy. But he's done for the year. He's been out for the last month. So the Knicks basically don't have a point guard at this point. Their point guard is Emmanuel Quickley, who is okay as a point guard, but he's certainly not an elite point guard. Second year player who, let's face it, he was kind of a combo guard coming out of college. So now you're asking him to run an NBA point, and that's part of the reason why Julius Randle is playing so much better recently, is because Tom Thibodeau, the coach, put the ball back in his hands like he had it last year.
Yep.
Because he's playing like a point forward. So Julius Randle will do well when the ball is in his hands more. Now, you don't necessarily want to play like that, and you're certainly not going to be a regular playoff team playing like that. You need a point guard. You need somebody who's going to handle the ball and be able to make things happen with it. You don't want Julius Randle to be that guy and kind of monopolize the ball. So that's where the Knicks are. This has kind of been a wasted season for the Knicks. They really do need to either draft a point guard or free up some money and sign somebody as a free agent, because they can't have a repeat of this season in 22-23.
No, they can't. And what's the point? But hey, the Knicks are 28-40. Not very good.
No,
not very good at all. But hey, we basically got one more thing to talk about that we didn't get to during the main part of the show. Well, actually, two things. First of all, some free agents have been signed in Major League Baseball. Clayton Kershaw, 1 year, $17 million from the Dodgers. This week, there will probably be more signings since the strike is now over and everyone can sign.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy week in baseball between free agents, trade. We've already seen a couple of trades with the Mets and the Yankees, and there's going to be more. The Oakland Athletics are going to be getting rid of some guys and bringing in younger players and prospects. But it's right now. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a very hectic week because 99 days of the lockout where GMs were not allowed to contact players.
Right.
And there's a lot of free agents out there: Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman, Chris Bryant. There's a lot of stud free agents out there who need to find homes because spring training is starting really soon. And the season is starting.
People already down there.
There were guys reporting to spring training as soon as they open the gates.
Yep.
And these guys who are not yet signed need to find homes and need to get in and start working out quickly. So expect a lot of action in the next 72 hours. Because, like I said, all of these guys need to get to their teams and need to start working out. I mean, some of them have been working out already, but it's different. It's a different level of working out when you're with the team, as opposed to when you're just kind of screwing around on a practice field somewhere.
Right. And, of course, we're a soccer-friendly show, brother, so there's a couple of things happening. And one of the things, the side things with what's happening with the war or the invasion of Ukraine by Russia is that Russian oligarchs, is that how you say them?
Oligarchs.
Oligarchs, whatever. I call them whatever.
I know. You said that last week, too.
Chelsea, which is owned by one of them, was seized by the British government.
Yes, Roman Abramovich was trying to sell and couldn't sell fast enough.
Yep,
so
he wanted the money.
The British government said, "Yeah, we're going to take that."
And they're trying to get their super yachts and stuff. And anyway, Chelsea is supposed to be sold. The government has seized the club, will allow it to finish the season, but it will be on a budget, sort of like the British government. And then the British government is going to sell the team, but no one knows what happens to the money afterwards.
They're going to run the sale. And presumably the money will be put into some sort of an escrow account until they figure out what exactly to do with it. Now, that being said, there is also the matter of a 1.5 billion pounds in loans that Abramovich has made to Chelsea that weren't part of the official payroll.
Right.
Because their payroll is enormous. Now, there has been speculation is will there be enough money to actually pay the players for the rest of the season? Because that remains to be seen, because they are on a travel budget.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that are kind of still in flux and still being figured out, but that is a big thing. And there's also a situation where will there be a points deduction because of all of this? Because the team is now in basically is in receivership almost.
And of course, we should say that loan, if you think about it, from Roman to his own team, is a way to help spread money out. I don't want to say launder money because that's an accusation, but something along those lines.
Well, it also goes against what is called financial fair play, and that's something that FIFA set up, that teams are only allowed to spend what they generate in revenue.
Right.
And that $1.5 billion came out of Abramovich's pockets. That wasn't money generated by the club. So, in theory, it should be a gross violation of financial fair play. So there should be a penalty for that.
Right.
Now, the penalty for that is supposed to be that you don't get to play in European competitions like the Champions League. And there are other penalties involved as far as not being able to buy players in probably two consecutive windows. But it remains to be seen if any of that is actually going to happen.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens there. We should say also Cristiano Ronaldo scored a hat trick, and Manchester United defeated Tottenham. Your Tottenham Spurs or Hotspur, 3-2. Harry Kane scored on a penalty kick.
Tom Brady was at the game, brother.
Was he?
That's where Tom Brady was on Saturday.
By the way, I see Chelsea being sold to some American conglomerate type of thing.
Very possible.
Because I think the Americans like the fact that they can, especially like who's Tom, the guy who owns the Red Sox, Tom Werner. I think they already own a soccer team.
They own Liverpool.
Yeah, they own Liverpool. So I think
the Fenway Sports Group.
Yeah, so I think that other American owners might want to join in on
there's
that.
American owners all over. The Glazers, who own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
right.
they own Manchester United. Stan Kroenke, who owns a couple teams in the United States, owns Arsenal.
Right.
And Todd Bowley, I think is how it's pronounced. He is a part owner of the Dodgers. He was one of the leading candidates with some sort of consortium who was trying to buy Chelsea before the British government stepped in.
Right. So we'll see what happens there. Also, the Red Bulls suffered their first loss of the season, 1-0 to the Minnesota FC, the football club, because
they do have a nickname though, brother. They call them the Loons.
The Loons, okay.
Because that's some kind of bird in Minnesota or something.
But they're not officially the Loons; they're just called the Loons.
That's their nickname.
It's also a term, a British term, I believe. A loon, a sploony. So, anyway, NYCFC, another
your favorite club,
another club in search of a name.
They were not in search of a championship, though, brother.
They did win that. Anyway, they beat up on CF Montreal.
4-1.
This past Saturday.
4-1. That was their. In fact, they scored their first 4 goals of the season in that game. Alexander Collins and Santiago Rodriguez scored in the first half for NYCFC, who finally got their first win of the season.
Yeah, let's try to come up with a name for them, brother.
We did. NYCFC.
No, a real name. It's like the Yankees don't call themselves the New York Baseball Club.
They could if they wanted to.
Yeah, but let's go Baseball Club of New York.
That would be a little presumptuous.
Let's go Baseball Club of New York. Let's go Islanders.
The Mets call themselves the Metropolitans. That's kind of presumptuous.
Well, it's short for Mets, or it's long for Mets.
Long for Mets, yes.
So anyway, that just about does it for our show. We had about 30 minutes to it. That's not bad. Anyway, thank you for listening. You've been listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC. I'm Rob Leonard. He is Tim Leonard. And thank you for listening, and take care.